Hello, everyone. I'm London Breed. I'm the mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, and I am so very excited to be here with each and every one of you here. Many of you probably know that I grew up not too far from here on Eddy and Laguna in public housing that was managed by the San Francisco Housing Authority. We know that this property here has been managed by the San Francisco Housing Authority, and some of you who have lived here for years have been frustrated with the elevators, with the pipes in the bathrooms and some of the challenges that exist. And we know that too often, too many of our residents who actually live in public housing have not been given the support and the resources and the things that they need to be able to live in dignity. Today, we celebrate the renovation of 138 units of housing for seniors and people with disabilities. And I am proud of the work that we have done to help to lead the way to renovate over 3,500 units of public housing throughout the city and county of San Francisco. As I said before, I grew up in public housing, and I lived in Plaza East for over 20 years of my life. The frustration that came with making the phone call to get something fixed and waiting weeks and sometimes months for something to be fixed. My grandmother, she actually raised me, and just the challenges that we experienced with trying to get basic service was so frustrating. And when I first became a member of the Board of Supervisors, one of the things that I had asked Mayor Lee to do is to work with me on really focusing our attention and our resources on rehabilitating the thousands of units that exist citywide. And we did just that through the RAD program, and so many amazing people helped lead the way on moving forward within what I think is really an amazing amount of time to get these units rehabbed so that you have a safe, affordable, clean, nice, great place to live, to grow, and to thrive. So I am just grateful that as mayor, what's happening now is we are seeing really the fruits of our labor over the past couple of years. And in Mayor Lee's honor, I want to just really celebrate this because not too many mayors would have taken the kind of risk that he did to do exactly what we are doing here today. I just felt strongly that we couldn't wait another 10, 15 years. We couldn't continue to wait and say, we'll figure it out, we'll get the money. Through our RAD program, we have been able to get creative about solutions to invest the dollars in you, to invest the dollars in making sure that the places that you live in are great places to live in, just like anywhere else in San Francisco. So I am just excited about this. The JFK Tower and the 2698 California are both great examples of our RAD program, which has had a tremendous success. Looking forward to doing even more of these developments, and I want to thank Mercy Housing, the John Stewart Company, Bank of America for the financing, the Mayor's Office of Housing, and the Housing Authority, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD, because in trying to do exactly what we've been able to accomplish here, it does take a village. It also takes the will. It also takes great community partners. And I hope you enjoy your new double pane windows, which I actually don't even have. I hope you enjoy just really your great community space and how beautiful and clean and bright and more open it is. I mean, I'm looking around, I can't even believe what I'm seeing right now. This is absolutely amazing, and it belongs to the residents of this community. So congratulations on this great success project, and I am so looking forward to doing so many more throughout San Francisco. And I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce your representative, the person who continues to advocate for resources for District 2, where you reside, who's a great member of the Board of Supervisors, a great advocate for communities, and will always be there for you. Ladies and gentlemen, your Supervisor, Catherine Stefani.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. We are so lucky to have Mayor Breed leading our city. Good morning, everybody. Mayor Breed's remarks were absolutely amazing, and it is, the RAD program is absolutely reshaping public housing in San Francisco for the better. The program has provided so many people across the city with rehabilitated, quality, and affordable housing. I cannot state how thrilled I am to be standing here today for the grand opening of this renovated tower. This tower has been iconic in District 2 for so long. It is beautiful, it is colorful, and I'm just so happy that we're standing here today in its renovation. Also, for 2698 California, which will provide together 138 units of affordable housing for seniors and individuals with disabilities. I'd like to say thank you to so many people for making this possible. First, Mayor Breed, you have made affordable housing a key part of your agenda as we face an affordability crisis. Your leadership on this issue is inspiring and absolutely essential for those in need of housing, and your experience, your own experience, how you talk about it, is just, it connects all of us to you, and I think it reinforces the need for the affordable housing and how important it is for our city. And Doug Shoemaker and everyone at Mercy Housing for ensuring that JFK Towers in 2698 California are not only beautiful, but safe and affordable places that residents can live for decades. Paul Taggart Architects and Rivera Consulting Group for your work making this project happen and making these buildings seismically safer. Also, Barbara Smith, Acting Executive Director of the SF Housing Authority. Thank you for all that you do and for taking all our calls when we get them at our office. Also, Liz Minnick, who I just met this morning of Bank of America, and Bank of America for this financing. We could not do this without you. Also, thank you for making today possible in this celebration we're having today. Finally, and most importantly, the people who call these amazing two buildings and District 2 their home. It really is an honor to serve you as your District 2 supervisor, and I want you to know that I'm here for you. Call me anytime. We can work together on issues, and I would love to come and visit periodically, so please know that we are here for you always. The work we are celebrating today has created a more welcoming community and better housing. JFK Towers has a new community room, I think we're in it right now, a patio for residents to enjoy, and the units now have modern amenities and new appliances, which are so essential. Every person living here deserves to be able to easily access their home and use the community spaces of the building. This renovation has also improved the elevators, which is so necessary, as Mayor Breed said, and enhanced accessibility features to eliminate barriers to access. Finally, San Francisco, as we know, must be prepared in case of an earthquake, and the fact that we now have seismically safe buildings is so important. I think we all agree that San Francisco is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I think, of course, Pacific Heights and District 2 is one of the most beautiful places in San Francisco. So I am really happy to be here today to celebrate with you and know that I am here for you going forward. And again, thank you, Mayor Breed, for all that you do. And at this time, I would like to introduce and thank again Doug Shoemaker with Mercy Housing, President of Mercy Housing.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're so blessed to have elected officials like the two that just spoke here. We work in a lot of different communities around California and, frankly, a lot of communities around the country. And more often than not, you're trying to convince elected officials of the importance of affordable housing. And here in San Francisco, we have the opposite. We have elected officials that really lead the charge. I think if you think about places in this country where you would see public housing preserved and strengthened in the most expensive real estate in the country and in neighborhoods like Pacific Heights, I could just tell you that this is an all too rare occurrence across the country and just testament to the tremendous, I think, agreement among San Franciscans about the importance of affordable housing, and we really appreciate your leadership on this topic and on future ones. For folks that don't know, there's still more work to be done with the Housing Authority. We're working with Barbara and the mayor and all the supervisors around the remaining public housing in town that really needs to get to this level of quality, and we're looking forward to more support around that topic as we move forward and make that a reality for your colleagues and friends and others living around the community. I'm going to introduce the next speaker, who I've known for very many years. She has, I think, well, the last time I talked to her, I think she told me that the number of Housing Authority directors she previously worked for was greater than my age, and I'm 24, so that's a lot. But no, in all seriousness, around the country, but in particular in San Francisco, the Housing Authority for many years has done really, really difficult work with very few resources compared to what the need is. And nobody likes to be in situations like that where people are asking you to do things and you're trying desperately to get all of that done, and you know that the federal government isn't sending you enough money to get it done, but you got to do everything you can to make it work. And Barbara Smith has been one of those people over the years who has stood up to that challenge. She has done the work, at times desperately under-resourced. Finally on these RAD projects and hopefully on the HOPE SF projects, resourced to the right amount. But she has done this work, I think, without complaint, with a characteristic smile, and has been a real champion of the work. And I want to introduce Barbara Smith and thank her and the rest of the Housing Authority staff for their great work.
Doug, you are way too kind, and we certainly couldn't do it without partners like Mercy and with leaders like Mayor London Breed and our new Supervisor Stefani. So we are really thrilled with JFK Towers and 2698 California and the other public housing high-rise buildings that are getting the improvements that they've needed for so long to preserve this wonderful resource for our residents. We're especially excited to see this crescent-shaped mid-century modern JFK Towers, rehabilitated with its primary colors, restored to its original appearance in the front, but with all kinds of improvements, the new community room, the new office space, and improvements to the residence units. We're really excited about this. I don't know if you know, but John Bowles was the architect, and he also designed Ping Yuen North, Ping Yuen, and Candlestick Park, which we no longer have in the city. But we're preserving and keeping this building for long-term affordable housing for our seniors and disabled residents. Before the rental assistance demonstration program, I would get into bed at night and I would pray that none of our senior and disabled residents in our high-rise buildings would be without elevator service. And also, worse yet, be stuck in an elevator. All too often, I would get a call during the night and have to send an emergency repair service to address the problem, and our duty officer to help the residents who were stuck in the lobbies or needed things from their apartments. And I know how stressful this situation was for our residents, but with declining federal dollars, the authority just wasn't able to keep up with critical repairs and the modernization work that the buildings needed. This enormous conversion effort, over $2.2 billion in financing and over $750 million in capital improvements, really required the brilliance, dedication, and support from an incredible team, beginning with Mayor Ed Lee, our new mayor, London Breed, including Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development. I know we have Lydia Ely here. Kate Hartley was also instrumental in all of their support. Mercy Housing, Bank of America, HUD. We don't have HUD here right now, but hopefully we'll have them back soon. The Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco, Freddie Mac Multifamily, our commissioners who were put many hours into approving all the documents that it took to put this together, authority staff who worked very hard throughout the conversion, the Board of Supervisors, Paulette Taggart Architects, Nibby Brothers contractors who really carried out the work beautifully, and others. Thank you to all who made this possible for JFK Towers and 2698 California and other public housing residents. I want to give a special thanks to our JFK residents. Raise your hands if you're a JFK resident. We have a lot of you here. And 2698 California. You lived through this process where you had to temporarily relocate and you had to live in a construction zone. And thank you for your faith in the process. We hope you really enjoy your new housing and all the improvements that you have. Thank you very much to everyone.
All right, we're in that special part of the program where we list lots of names. But I do want to just spend a second to just acknowledge the partnership that was here Japanese American Religious Foundation and the John Stewart Company and Mercy decided early on, when we were looking at the opportunity to work on these buildings, that we would do better partnering than competing with each other to do this work. And I think that's part of the ethos of San Francisco. I think we looked out there and we said, we can do this better together. I want to acknowledge Jack and Margaret, who are in the back, responsible for the California property and others. I don't see Will here from Japanese American Religious Foundation. There he is, great, Will. The partnership is really fantastic, and I think it's part of trying to make sure that we really are effective stewards of the trust that the public is putting in us and you as residents. It was mentioned already, but I see Mike and Bob Nibby, who have led this work, but I just want to, maybe the rest of the Nibby folks who worked on this, raise their hands. Bob, you can raise your hand. I know you're trying to hide back there. The work of being a general contractor in an occupied building is a special thing. And we knew we had a really good choice in Nibby. They've done great work for many people around the city on this work, and a lot of it has nothing to do with understanding construction, but actually understanding what it means to relate to people as people. And so many thanks for your great work and your team's great work in that regard. I know Paulette and Paulette Taggart Architects, Barcelona Jang. I want to recognize them both for their great work on that. I don't know what happened in the hallway, but whoever did that, thank you for that. Take a second also just to acknowledge there are many, the way the work happens at Mercy is very much team driven, so no one is individually responsible. With that said, this was an unusual project, and I just want to say thanks to Tim and Mike and others. I think Mike Kaplan himself probably took more calls on this project than he'll ever take on a project again in his life. So Mike, I know you're hanging out somewhere, but thank you for your perseverance on that. If you work for Mercy, if you could just raise your hand for a second to just receive thanks on that. Our great property management staff. I want to acknowledge our board chair in the back, Joanne Burgess, who doesn't live very far from here, so she can come visit all the time. One small anecdote I want to just add about the primary colors of the doors. Somewhere along the process, we were offered money to actually paint them different colors. And so I'm happy to say we didn't. I think they are part of what makes this a very iconic property in San Francisco and really stands out. And frankly, the world needs less boring buildings. And so I'm happy that we have a bright building that everyone could spot when you say, which one is JFK Towers? And you just say, oh, it's the rainbow colored one with all the doors. And everyone goes, ah, I know exactly what that building is. We don't need another beige building. So with that, I want to just acknowledge that one part of what made RAD really only in San Francisco project, and I really mean that, we often talk about how special we are in San Francisco, and generally it's true. But sometimes we're exaggerating. But on this project, I really think, if you look around the country at what was able to be done around public housing preservation, there really are very few examples. And if you look at the trouble they're having in New York City and all around the country with really doing what San Francisco got ahead of, you can just see what a special opportunity this was and how much work it took to get there. Part of doing that was to recognize that we had to have an unusual financial partnership that was not without its pain. San Francisco developers, we're very special people. We're a little bit prima donna-ish. We want to be treated differently on every project, and it was the Mayor's Office of Housing job to tell us that we weren't going to be different from each other, that we were all going to do it the same way, which frankly hurt. We didn't like to hear that message. But with that said, we didn't really have a choice, and maybe that's a lesson for leadership there. But they turned to a single financial partner in order to make sure that they could make this deal work. And there really are very few organizations in the world or corporate America that could really step up to the challenge from both a financing perspective, but also from a philanthropy perspective. And so we were lucky early on to have the partnership of Bank of America on this project. I think it's quite exceptional. I want to bring up now Liz Minnick, who's the Bay Area Market Executive for Bank of America, to talk about it. But I also want to just acknowledge, come on up, Liz. But I also want to acknowledge just the tremendous work we've done with the bank over the years, and appreciation for Ari and the rest of his team in terms of working on this and sort of partnering with us on this. And with that, Liz?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. As a fellow District 2 neighbor, it is so very special to be here today, and again, want to thank our two elected officials, Mayor Breed and Supervisor Stefani, of everything you've done and your ongoing support. Bank of America is thrilled to have been able to be the financial partner of the San Francisco RAD redevelopment and financing $2.2 billion for this project. Not only the largest in our history, but it's the largest in the United States. So it really, really is something special. We do think we're special here in San Francisco, and especially from a Bank of America standpoint. We were founded in this city 115 years ago as the Bank of Italy. And as we think about our legacy and our heritage here in the city, shortly after our founding with the 1906 earthquake and the importance of getting people back in their homes. And that's exactly what we're able to help doing here today as well. So again, thank you to all that were involved. Thank you for the special relationship we have with Mercy Housing. Thank you to the San Francisco Department of Housing, to, again, our elected officials, and to everyone at Bank of America that made this possible. And we look forward to many more grand openings. Thanks so much.
All right. You know, probably the most interesting part of all these presentations, notwithstanding all of our excellent talking, is really to have a chance to hear from a resident about what the experience has been like. We do this work for residents. That's the reason, for at least for Mercy Housing and for, I think, many people in the room, the reason why we're here. And I want to bring up John Gall to share a few words about his experience here at JFK Towers. And thank you, John, for taking the time and being willing to share your story.
I believe that Mercy Housing makes life worth living. To illustrate, let me tell you an interesting story, personal experience. One day when Mercy first came here and people were gathering around and not quite used to anything yet, then one day a staff member from Mercy Housing came in from outside, and he saw me, and he said, "John, I saw your picture on a Meals on Wheels vehicle." I said, "You didn't see the other 19 of them in the truck." And he then called me Mr. John. The gentleman is standing in the doorway right here, Avon. That started something I would never have expected. I would come down in the morning and Angel in the office or Mary, our manager, would say, "Good morning, Mr. John." That grew. Then it was staff, it was tenants, but mostly NIBI housing or construction. They would get in the elevator with me and they'd say, "Mr. John." And one man said, "I want to show you something." And he took out a photo of his infant daughter, sharing it with me. And I thought, this is very rare. This is extremely nice. That went on for some time. Everywhere I would go, it would be Mr. John. I would go out for a walk, and the men would be outside doing something at the fountain. "Have a nice walk, Mr. John." I'd come back and say, "Did you have a nice walk, Mr. John?" Then they began showing me more pictures of family, particularly the children. And I thought, well, this is very nice at my 93rd year. And so then came a very interesting time. NIBI Construction had left the building, except for a handful. They were all done here. They came and said goodbye. They knocked on the door of my unit to tell me, "Goodbye, Mr. John." And then came the day when there were about a dozen left on the rooftop just above my unit, working on waterproofing. They had a problem. While I'm standing in the doorway waiting for Meals on Wheels delivery, the supervisor came and said, "My crew will be leaving about 11 o'clock. Would you stand in the doorway and say goodbye?" And by the way, after you've done that, stay in the doorway until they've gone down the walkway and have left that terraced area, that balcony. So about 11 o'clock with the door open, I heard them coming down from upstairs. I stood out in the doorway. They came by and all very cheerful and very pleasant. And then they walked down to go to the elevator. They didn't go in the elevator. They stayed out on the balcony. About 12 people turned and looked at me, and in a cacophony of languages, English, Spanish, I think Arabic, someone said. And I thought, this is interesting. And when they had finished, the supervisor spoke in a very big voice and said, they said, "Goodbye, Mr. John." So living in housing is an uplifting experience. And at my 93 years of age, I could not have asked for more. Not just the building, it's the people. And I thought, I'm a very lucky man. So thank you all for coming. We'll be glad to see you again next time. Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, I'm sure I just did a very bad job of reading my notes, and in here I was supposed to say, thank you, Mr. John, but I'll do it now. So thank you, Mr. John. I do want to acknowledge two more things. One is I want to just echo what has been said previously about the residents and living through a rehab. And so we thank you very much for living with the rehab, and we're looking forward to working with you over time. And I hope we can continue this great relationship going forward, and I welcome your feedback about it, and I hope we continue to do all the special things that it sounds like the Nibby Brothers folks did with you, Mr. John. So I want to acknowledge Canute, I hope I got that right, Canute Davis, who's responsible for the artwork and the music. He's a resident here and has been a resident here for 18 years. This is he. And with that, I think we're going to call our program to a close. I want to thank everyone, especially the mayor and the supervisor for getting out here on a rainy day. We're going to do a ribbon cutting, which is going to occur out front, right here, where he says. And then there are going to be refreshment and tours. Tours for the JFK Tower start at the elevators. And there are also tours of 2698 California that will be occurring, I assume, Jack, 15 minutes from now, Margaret? Is it not occurring? Not occurring. No tours of, yes, they are. Okay, yes, they are. So if you want to tour 2698 California, Jack and Margaret are hiding in the back, and I'm sure they will be happy to help escort folks over. All right, they were hiding. There they are. The camera's trained on them. So thank you very much, everyone.